So I'm gonna try and squeeze in two news videos before I head to work. So let the games begin as I go to work in about 40 minutes, and I still haven't made my lunch, and I still haven't done anything that pertains to going to work. So I got some time, but we gotta make haste as we look to the news, and I'm gonna mix in some AEW news into this, but AEW is gonna have its own standalone tonight. As we catch up I mean, AEW might. We'll see what happens, but let's get into it. As MJF, I mean, as Andrade, I apologize. Andrade was seen finally with an update from Andrade. As it pertains to Andrade, it seems as though Andrade is suspended after his occurrence with Sammy Guevara a couple months ago. And it is that Andrade seems to be healing up some previously sustained injuries, or lingering injuries might be the right word, as the last photo that Andrade posted was him in a hospital gown, or what looked to be a hospital gown. So we do hope to wish Andrade a speedy recovery. An update on Logan Paul. Logan seems to have just sustained a MCL and an MCL and a knee injury, as opposed to an MCL, ACL, and a knee injury pair like we first expected. So the fact that it's not as severe as his brother Jake disclosed to us, because Jake disclosed on a boxing podcast that his brother's injury were not as severe as first thought, that it is better than expected, and maybe, just maybe, Logan will actually be around for WrestleMania. Because if his injuries were as expected, then there was some doubt if Logan would be around for WrestleMania this year, if his injuries were as expected, because an MCL, ACL, and patella tear, or whatever the third thing was, I can't remember if it was the knee or something else, but if it was as expected, then you would have figured that he probably would have missed WrestleMania. Kevin Owens, speaking of missing a pay-per-view, Kevin Owens, we have an update on Kevin Owens as well, and it seems like Big Kev is still penciled in for Survivor Series as the fifth man for the Survivor Series team for the babyfaces. And in my opinion, if Kevin is feeling up to it, then yes, Kevin Owens is by far the best choice to fill in the Survivor Series team. If he is not feeling up to it and is not able to compete, then I would say somebody else, maybe a Seth Rollins or Matt Riddle. Riddle would have been a perfect replacement for Kevin Owens with his long history with not just Roman Reigns, but also the bloodline, the bloodline in general. That if Kevin Owens was not feeling medically cleared to compete, that's the word. If Kevin was not medically cleared to compete, then having Matt Riddle take his spot would have been the perfect opportunity for Riddle to get back in with the bloodline. But it seems like Kevin Owens is going to be taking that spot, and it is possible, in all likelihood, that Kevin may take the spot and then look to take some time off after the match, which is, in my opinion, would be the likely thing for WWE to do if there's anything for them to do to protect Kevin Owens. If Kevin does have a hamstring strain, which I believe is what it was. I know it was something with his knees. I can't remember. But those are updates on 3 superstars. In some cases, 3 prominently featured superstars in both AEW and WWE. Speaking of an update, we got another update on the Vince McMahon documentary produced, and that was supposed to come out back in October. It is still rumored to be coming out very, very soon, as we got an update from Brian Alvarez from the Wrestling Observer newsletter. And Brian gives us the update that the documentary is set to be released in December, specifically December 13th, and it will be given to us through Vice TV, which, if you remember anything about Vice, they are the people that give us Dark Side of the Ring and Tales from the Territory. So if there is anything Vice will give us, it is, or if there's anything we can expect from Vice, it is true to form wrestling documentaries for our faces. And I am, for one, am looking forward to the Vince McMahon documentary set to be released on December the 13th on Vice TV. So stay tuned for that and updates right here at Wrestling Express for more information on that documentary. As I said, that documentary is to be released on December the 13th, and it will cover everything from when Vince took over WWE to the Monday Night Wars and Vince's retirement earlier this year. Which again, I will give you guys updates as I find out more information about the documentary to be released later this year. Speaking of later this year, AEW has a pay-per-view on Saturday, that being Full Gear. We heard from MJF. MJF did mention CM Punk in his promo, in his Go Home Show promo on Dynamite. Specifically, he started his promo off the same exact way Punk started off the pipe bomb back in 2011, saying, "I know you're sitting there, John. I hope you are in a lot of pain," or something to that effect. He mentioned it like he spoke it right the way that he started his promo on Dynamite, the exact way Punk started his promo on Raw that night in June back in 2011 ahead of Money in the Bank. So that is ironic and exactly what you would expect from MJF. And then after Dynamite, MJF was in the ring with Tony Khan and said he hopes Tony opens the purse strings for the bidding war of 2024. And not just that, but 2 world title matches were announced for AEW Dynamite, for AEW's pay-per-view this weekend. That being the Trios Championship is on the line as Death Triangle go against the Elite. The Elite have been gone since that little thing, that little spat that may have been covered here, there, and sometimes in the news. That little spat that happened at All Out between them and CM Punk. They have been gone since then, but they return at Full Gear, and I do hope that AEW does not immediately snap back and put the belts on the Elite, because I think the better story would have been, or would be, them losing at Full Gear and then having to work their way back to being the champion, because taking the belts off Death Triangle this soon, in my opinion, it won't help the six-man it won't help the six-man titles, and they need some stability rather than being put back on the guys that had it from the outset. And the other match is, of course, the TNT Championship is on the line in a triple threat match. If you have been watching AEW, you have seen Powerhouse Hobbs jump Wardlow the last few weeks. And last week, Samoa Joe officially turned on the TNT champion Wardlow. And that sets up TNT champion Wardlow against Ring of Honor World Television champion Samoa Joe and Powerhouse Hobbs. In my opinion, it seems like someone is put in that match to protect the money match, which either it's Powerhouse Hobbs versus Wardlow or Samoa Joe versus Wardlow. I think it's Samoa Joe versus Wardlow, but I think it's also possible that they protect the Ring of Honor Television champion from taking the fall. But it could be one way or the other. I don't know. But the one thing is, I think it's also possible that you do Samoa Joe versus Wardlow with neither title on the line, because that match doesn't need a championship belt on the line. It is a dream match, in my opinion, of 2 dominant forces, the future and the past, colliding on Saturday. But also, the world title tournament is still, the world title eliminator tournament still needs to be addressed. Lance Archer, Ricky Starks is the only match still around. And I did bring it up in a previous news video. I think it was the AEW specific news video a couple of days ago, where I said you could have it where Ricky Starks is completely out and that tournament match is canceled, and Brian Cage just gets a bye to Full Gear to face Ethan Page. In my opinion, that's a little bit of a question mark because I think it would be heel versus heel, so it would be a little bit of a question mark. I know there are people that love Brian Cage and love Ethan Page, so again, it's a little bit of a question mark, but it could spark a feud or a rivalry between Lance Archer and Ricky Starks if that match does get canceled, if Ricky is not medically cleared to compete on Friday night at Rampage. But that's what we have to look forward to on Rampage, the answer to the World Title Eliminator Tournament, because Ethan Page is in the finals at Full Gear and will have an opportunity to face the winner of Mox versus MJF this Saturday night. But if you're looking for wrestling outside of AEW, Impact Wrestling is a part of the chock full Friday night this weekend with SmackDown, Rampage. You got SmackDown at 8 o'clock, Rampage at 10 o'clock, and then Impact Wrestling somewhere in between, as Impact Wrestling has their next pay-per-view, Impact Wrestling Overdrive, this Friday night on Fight.tv. Impact Wrestling World Tag Team Champions Rhino and Heath defend the titles against the major players, Brian Myers and Matt Cardona, with rumors surrounding Cardona's possible return to WWE. It's an interesting event that night. I think, in my opinion, Impact Wrestling puts the belts on the major players, but maybe we'll do a little bit of a prediction video for Impact Wrestling as well. As far as what else, World Champion Josh Alexander against Frankie Kazarian, AEW wrestler Frankie Kazarian. Frankie gets his first title shot since about 2000, world title shot since about 2007, 2008. So that's interesting. But of course, Full Gear, Saturday night, November 19th. That's where everybody's attention is. And we'll be doing predictions on Friday alongside a Rampage preview. So we got all that and more coming this Friday night. Stay tuned for that. But these have been my thoughts on wrestling. Let me know yours down in the comment section below. And I will see you guys again soon. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel to let me know you enjoy this content, because any and all interactions on these videos do help. But before you go, do not forget to ding down that notification bell. If you want notifications, you got to ding down that bell next to the subscriber box to get the notifications sent to your inbox whenever I post a new video. All that aside, I will see you guys again soon in the next video.